tonight's encounter, I figured I ought to get right back in here. We had a north wind last night, but the wind switched to an east. I have a stand down there where he came out at last night, but with an east wind, I didn't figure it was worth pushing in there. Just too much to risk. Got 2 does already out in the bean field. It's only 4 o'clock, so hopefully it's gonna be a good sit, and if we get lucky, we'll lay our eyes on him again. So tonight I still had the good wind that I was able to go in there and hunt with. So I went in there tonight. 5 or 6 does came out into the field and they started feeding, and then I seen a buck come up behind them, that smaller buck. And I was sitting there, and then about 5 minutes later, then I seen the 8-pointer. He came out behind the smaller buck. I knew immediately what deer it was, and he kind of pushed some does around, and then they worked their way. Well, I thought they were going to work right to me because he was pushing them to me. But they worked their way to the east of me just a little bit, and then in the CRP field, which is totally upwind of me, a deer blew, and that kind of set the mood, I guess you could say, off of those deer. And those does that he was with kind of worked their way in there after they settled down, and then he kind of worked off. And he never left the field, but he went to the far north side where that smaller buck was, and they sat there for probably 30 minutes, I'd say. And then the smaller buck ended up going back north, and then the big 8, he started coming to me, and he was coming right in on a string, and I had a feeling it was going to happen. But he got to about 65 yards, and then he started skirting back east. So I took my grunt call and I grunted, and he would look and snort wheeze, but he didn't have no interest in it. And I wasn't for sure why. Then I looked out there, and there was a group of does out there, and he went out there and pushed them around until dark, and then hopefully we can get a shot at him. I'd love to wrap my tag around him, obviously, but it's called hunting, not killing. Well, guys, it's November 1st here. Finally, sweet November rolls around. This evening, I'm hunting over this bean field where that deer skinny I was hunting was. He's been missing for about 2 weeks, so really I'm just after any old mature deer. Nothing in particular. This time of year, though, you never know what can happen. I've never seen that deer before. He's just stepped in the wood timber about 50 yards. I'm gonna see if I can rattle him in. That was exciting. Heck yeah. That was an old mature deer. I seen him walk across this field here, coming from the south, headed north into this block of timber. And he was right here about 50 yards. He eased his way right up into the timber a little bit. I tinkled the horns together and he came right here on a string to about probably 8 yards. I think I put it in there good. He ran about 30 yards and stumbled, and then I lost him out in the bean field. Heck yeah, November 1st, sweet November. You just never know this time of year. Well, here's where I shot him. The arrow's blood painted. Pretty good trail leading away from here, so I'm gonna take up the trail. Well, right here's where he crashed, and if you look right up to the field edge, there he is, laying there in the beans. Well, here he is. Didn't make it very far at all. Well, here he is, guys. What a way to welcome November. This deer, I killed tonight. I'm hunting on a property where that deer I called Skinny was, and he disappeared about 2 weeks ago, so I didn't have much to hunt after, and I decided that the next mature deer I seen I was gonna try to take, and I'm glad to finally get one down after years of seemed like always coming up short. You know, last year I was hunting a deer of what I'd consider a lifetime and kept coming up short with that deer, and he finally disappeared on me too there first week in November, so it finally feels good to wrap a tag around a deer.